Hey guys, welcome to this episode of Honor of the Line. Today we're going to be breaking down my top 5 favorite fish catches for the 2024 fishing season. Now, what constitutes my favorite? There's a lot of different things that I was taking into consideration. One, fish size, fish species, the fight. There's a lot of things that come into it when I was thinking about this thing. And I have less footage this year than I have in the last 10 years, which is life happens a little bit, but we're going to break down my 5 favorite catches. And diving in at number 5 is going to be a fish that I just recently caught at the Loomis Owners Tournament. Me and my buddy Jared Sloan was down there fishing this tournament, and I'd been there for a couple hours before he got there. And I was doing some pre-fishing. I caught some fish and found some fish, but he gets in the boat, and I'm throwing a spinner bait similar to this one right here. I make them myself, just a light wire spinner bait. It had an actual standard willow leaf blade on it instead of this kind of stubby one. But was throwing it down there, and those of you guys that know that lake very well probably going to wonder how I caught these fish on a spinner bait. I've never caught a fish on a spinner bait there in my life. Just love throwing a spinner bait, and I've been making these myself for about a month prior to this. So I wanted to try them out down there, and I've been catching fish, pretty regularly on them around here. So without further ado, number 5 goes to a smallmouth I caught at Lake Cumberland here not too long ago in December here. And it was one of my favorites for a lot of different reasons. One, it's a really nice fish, absolutely smoked a spinner bait. And Cumberland just has my number. I usually don't catch fish this big, but here it is. Number 5 for the 2024 fishing season, smallmouth from Lake Cumberland.
Oh, you digging? Good. Big old brown guy.
Freaking thing mangled that spinnerbait, son. That's proof in the pudding right there, fellas, that the new Firebird, that I'm calling it, catch. Actually, that was the buzz bait. This is a spinnerbait. That's what I'm talking about. Number 4 for the 2024 fishing season goes to a fish that I caught at Yatesville in March of this year, or last year, I guess, 2024. And the reason I chose this fish as one of my top 5 of the year is the fact that I caught it on a brand new bait that Shimano has out, or had out at the time, called the Ember. And it is a crankbait that actually will work like a crankbait, but it's a suspending crankbait, so it'll stop wherever you reel it down to in the water column, wherever it's at. When you stop reeling it, it kind of just hovers there or suspends. And the reason I chose this, it was easily one of the biggest fish that I caught this year on a spinning rod. Just throwing this crankbait on a spinning rod, so Ott Defoe would be proud. So check out number 4 for the 2024 fishing season. you fish in the wintertime right there, boys. Shimano Ember right there. That's awesome. Catch number 3 goes to a fish that I caught at Yatesville as well, and it's not even that big of a fish. One, I chose it because I was using one of my favorite baits at Yatesville that time of year, which is it's a shad wrap made by Rapala. One of my favorite baits of all time for spring and really late fall when water gets cold. But the really cool thing about it was one of the very first times, if not the very first time, I'd ever been on JR's new Phoenix PHX. And it was a really cool experience getting to spend some time with him out there on the water. And when you catch a fish like this at Yatesville, it's a pretty good day. Especially, man, the way this fish hit, I thought it was an 8-pounder. They're probably not. There's some 8-pounders in that lake probably, but I've never caught anything close to it. But this thing hit like a ton of bricks. So check this fish out. Biggin. I mean, a giant. Either that or he crushed it like a freaking tank. He's not a giant, but he's a good one.
Ember.
Shad wrap.
Sweet, man. It's a good looking fish. Healthy.
Yep, the old Shad Wrap 5. I'm sorry, this is a Shad Wrap 7. No, it is a 5. Hammered it. Man, I thought he was a giant. But I'll take a 3-pounder.
Absolutely. Off that rock, I guess.
Yeah, right in there somewhere. Ain't bad. Fish number 2. So you got to be getting down to some really good fish catches. And the reason I chose this one and put it in slot number 2 is the fact that this is one of the best days I've ever had in my life at Grayson Lake. I think I had caught like 17.5 or 18 pounds in my best 5 there that day. It was a really good, really nice overcast day. About halfway through the day, I got caught in an absolute toad strangler of a rainstorm. Check out this clip right here before we get into the fish catch. So you can see it was a little wet that day, and I was okay because it was a nice warm day. We're talking about May of this past year, but I was throwing the Jackal chunk crawl. Jackal, if you guys are out there watching, which I know you're not, if somebody could tag them, would be great. If you guys could bring back the Jackal chunk crawl instead of discontinuing it, I would absolutely love that. One of my favorite Texas rig baits on the planet. Great for jig trailers and everything. So bring that thing back, please. So this is going to be number 2 for the 2024 fishing season. This is going to be a fish that I caught at Grayson Lake in May. So check out this one. Fighting hard. No wonder he's fighting hard. Oh, yeah, boys, I'm telling you what. Grayson Lake showing out today. I'm telling you, that Jackal chunk crawl right there just freaking gets chewed by biggins. That's 2 real good ones today on this chunk crawl. That's what I'm talking about right there, baby. He's well over 4, might be 5. Get her weight up here. The other one was 4.4. Pretty sure this one's bigger than that one. $4.7. 4 pounds 7 ounces. That is 4, 8. It's about 12 pounds of 3 fish. I'll take that for Grayson Lake, baby. That's what I'm talking about. Let's let her go. Number 1. Numero uno. The top dog catch of 2024. I could not just choose one catch. So I'm going to do this 3 different ways. We're going to have my favorite short video, which I'm going to show you guys here in just a second. This is my favorite short catch, meaning that it was only produced on my channel on a shorts, or one of the shorts, so less than a minute long. And I lost all the original footage for this, so I can't actually make a 16:9 or a landscape version of it. So that's the reason it didn't really make the list, because it's going to be vertical on your screen here, and it's really, it doesn't really look good on a computer or a TV. So let's dive into my favorite short of this year, which was catching almost a 5-pound smallmouth under a dock. Yeah, you heard that right. I caught almost a 5-pound smallmouth under a dock. We weren't fishing, the Ohio River. We were fishing Lake Champlain, which obviously is a huge body of water, and they have huge fish in there. But check out my number 1 short catch for this year was this huge smallmouth caught from Lake Champlain. Chubby. Now, so that's the number one short catch that I like this year. Again, huge smallmouth under a dock. You guessed it, jackal chunk crawl, 4-inch. As I mentioned, really like that jackal chunk crawl. So we're going to now kind of split this into 2 videos here. My most favorite video is going to be the one after this. We'll talk about that in just a second. But my second favorite video of this entire year, I really can't say my second. It's my least favorite number 1 catch, because we've already talked about number 2 catches. So I've split this into, again, into 3 categories. Best short, and then these 2 right here kind of hold a special place in my heart. The very first catch we're talking about is I caught probably a 25-inch rainbow trout at Greenbow Lake. I've been on a hunt there for the past couple weeks, or up to a month now, chasing a coldwater giant, and boy, did I catch one. Was not going after trout. They stock trout in that lake. It's not natural, it's not naturally occurring there. But this is a stocked trout, and if you've ever had a question whether stocked trout can live in a lake, this should tell you that they can. This is not a stocked trout this year. They haven't stocked, and they stock every February. But I pitched a bass jig into a treetop, and I watched it go on live scope all the way to the bottom, facing, or following this jig. And then I just sat there and watched the fish on live scope, and he came back up in a treetop and got in the same spot he was before. Pitched that jig in there again, which was it's a 1/2 ounce Picasso little spotty. Actually, no, it was a Picasso tungsten football head. Pitched it in there, had a rage tail trailer on it, went down, and as soon as it went down a little bit, the fish absolutely smoked that thing. I set the hook, he came rolling in, and you can actually hear it in the video, and I think it's a catfish, because if you ever caught a catfish before on bass gear, they roll pretty much all the way in, especially if it's a channel cat. But this is easily one of my favorite catches of the year. So check out this 25-inch rainbow trout from Greenbow Lake in Kentucky. Decent fish here, boys. I think it's a catfish. It's gotta be the way it's rolling. What is that thing? Dude, that is the biggest freaking rainbow trout I've ever seen in my life. Ate a freaking jig. Look at that thing. Oh my God. Decent fish here, boys. I think it's a catfish. It's gotta be the way it's rolling. What is that thing? Dude, that is the biggest freaking rainbow trout I've ever seen in my life. Ate a freaking jig. Look at that thing. All right, number one, my most favorite video from this year. It doesn't take somebody very long to figure it out if you've been a part of my channel. This year was very highs and low lows. So I had some boat trouble, had a lot of stuff going on, but got to spend some time with my buddy Dusty and Misty and a lot of other people on the boat. But I went down, spent some time with Dusty. Misty and I did over the President's Day weekend of February of 2024. Went down to Fish Falls Lake, as well as Lake Jordan and a few others that were in there, Sharon Harris, all those that are in that area. So we go down. The very first day that I'm there, I buy what I think is the right Lake Master chip for the lake that I'm going to, Falls Lake, and I did not. It was my fault. I didn't do my research, and I got the wrong card. I got Southern States instead of Mid-Atlantic or whatever I should have gotten. And Falls Lake was not on there. Put my boat in the wrong end of the lake. Ended up hitting some rocks with my boat motor, not my actual boat. Bent my prop shaft and dinged the heck out of my prop, which that's fishing, guys. You know how it goes. But shortly after that, I was the most down I could be at that point because lower units are not cheap. Props are not cheap. The whole 9 yards, I knew it was going to cost me a lot of money. But I was able to get the prop shaft fixed from Strix Marine there in Wheelersburg, Ohio. Aaron helped me out. They put all that stuff on there for me. He ended up having to find me a new prop shaft because the prop shaft that I had was bent also. I had two. I had one that was in the one that I knew was bent, and then the second one, which I thought was good, was actually bent too. So he actually had a third one and got me going. So that was kind of the low of the lows for that trip. But then a few hours later, I was throwing a bladed jig on I think it's one of the Loomis BJJ the bladed jig rod BJR, and I think it's the 3-power. And I was throwing it and not expecting to catch anything. I caught a few fish during that day.